So, first-time home buyers, and actually home buyers who haven't been through the process in a little while, it's pretty darn important to understand all about the 5 most common home buying contingencies and why they matter. And this is all important information because contingency is really what may save your bacon, quite honestly, should a home buying transaction start to go sideways. So this video covers the 5 most common home buying contingencies and some key details that will help you navigate the home buying process. So let's get started. I'm Stacy Butchart, and I'm a real estate broker here in Portland, Oregon. This channel is all about living here, playing here, and everything you need to know about moving here and buying, selling, or investing in real estate in the Portland metro area. And if these are topics that interest you, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and click on the bell so you'll be notified every time I drop a new video. So you may be asking, what the heck is a contingency? In real estate, a contingency refers to the condition of the sale of agreement that needs to end. So it needs to be waived or resolved in some way to keep the transaction moving forward. And here's a really important point. Contingencies allow you to walk away from a transaction without losing your earnest money. They are usually tied to a deadline of some sort, and that is usually tied to the day that your offer was accepted. The 5 most common home buying contingencies include the inspection contingency, the title contingency, the financing contingency, the appraisal contingency, and the home buying contingency. Number 1, the inspection contingency. So this one's pretty darn important. It has to do with home inspections and repairs, and it is tied to a very important deadline, so you need to pay attention. The inspection contingency must be resolved within a specified amount of days. It changes per state from the time you have mutual acceptance. In Oregon, you have 10 business days. And just know, at 5 o'clock on that 10th day, or whatever it is in your state, you have to have all repairs and all concessions negotiated, agreed upon, and signed off on by both the buyer and the seller in the form of an addendum. Otherwise, buyer, you're suddenly committed to buying the house as is, or you could back out, but you'll most likely lose your earnest money. Home inspections, by the way, are critical because that's how you get a complete picture of the condition of the home you're about to purchase. And it also gives you the information you need to ask the seller for those critical repairs, or at least get the seller to pay for the repairs. Once the inspections are completed, you'll get a full inspection report, and then you and your realtor will work together to decide which of the repairs the seller should really take care of. And if you can't reach an agreement on requested repairs, or if you simply feel that the home has far too many issues for you to want to take on, then you can just walk away from the transaction and keep your earnest money. Another key note, do not wait until the last minute. All of this has to be done by 5 o'clock, and notification that you're not accepting the house based on the home inspection also has to be done by that same timeline. If you are able to reach agreement on seller repairs and concessions by the time the inspection period ends, then this contingency simply just wraps up and goes away, and you get to move on to the next step. In a hot seller's market, by the way, some buyers opt to waive the inspection contingency. That means no matter what comes up in those inspections, because you can still have the inspections, you still have to buy the home as is. That means no repairs, no concessions, and no backing out without forfeiting your earnest money. Number 2, the title contingency. This one's pretty straightforward. In real estate, the title to a home is merely a record of ownership from past to present. But it's also a record of any liens or judgments that have been made against the property. Typically, a title company will review the title, and they do that pretty soon after mutual acceptance on an offer. And they usually can fix any issues before it goes to close so that it can be transferred to you free and clear. However, there are times, not very often, but there are times when the title report issues can't be resolved before closing, and that's where the title contingency comes in. Number 3 is the financing contingency. The financing contingency basically says that if for some reason you're unable to get your financing, you can either look for alternative sources or you can back out of the sale. Heads up, the pre-approval is not a guarantee that you'll get the loan. Once you have an offer accepted, you still have to apply for a specific loan and go through the underwriting process. What that means is the underwriter for the lender is going to take a pretty in-depth look at all of your financials, and they may just come up with a list of conditions that you need to clear in order to receive the loan. If you're unable to clear those conditions, or if there's an issue with your financials, the mortgage company can just say no. However, because of the contingency, you can walk away with your earnest money intact. Number 4, the appraisal contingency. The appraisal contingency really goes hand in hand with the financing contingency. So an appraisal is ordered by the lender to help determine fair market value. And the lender will only loan on that determined fair market value. So if the appraised value comes in lower than your accepted offer, that gap has to be covered in some way. Your options are to make up the difference yourself, because of course we all have tons of cash stashed around, renegotiate the sale price, which is highly unlikely in a hot seller's market, or find additional financing somehow to close that gap. If all of these options fall through, well, then the appraisal contingency is what allows you to back away from the offer, earnest money intact. And number 5, the home sale contingency. This last contingency, the home sale contingency, used to be a favorite of buyers, and it's not hard to see why. If an offer is accepted with a home sale contingency, you'll have a specified amount of time to find a buyer for your current home. That way you can secure your future home without having to sell your current home first. And if you can't find a buyer who can close within the designated time, you have the freedom to walk away without losing your earnest money. As you might imagine, this contingency is not very popular with sellers. They really can't afford to take their home off the market, close it down to potential buyers, with the risk that the buyer or the accepted offer, the person who made the accepted offer, can't sell their own home or can't sell it within the time it needs to sell to close this transaction. So now you know about the 5 most common home buying contingencies. I hope you found this information helpful. And as always, I'd love to hear your thoughts, so please do leave a comment below. I'm Stacy Butchart, and I'll see you next time.